Good day. I am Craig Zimmerman, name on the screen there, and welcome to In the Zone, number 65. And we've got Jessica Ikera-Blakely. Welcome, Jessica.
Thank you.
So, your face is well known around Marine City for your business, growing up in Marine City, going to school, family, all that. We'll get into that. So tell us, Jessica, where you were born and raised.
So I was actually born in Harrison Township, and we lived there until I was 4, and we lived on a little canal on the water, and my mom was a nervous wreck because we were, my brother and I were on the water as, small children and toddlers, and so my dad started getting into real estate at that point, and he bought a small home on Marsh Road, and that's when we moved to Marsh, and I went to Pine River for my first 2 years, and then Elementary after that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And your mother and father, name-wise, just in case people would want to know.
Evelyn and John Ikera.
Okay.
Yep.
And John was in business for many years as an accountant in Marine City, so a lot of people know him from that.
Yep, as well as my mom and his brother, my uncle.
Yeah.
So the three of them had a accounting business
And
together.
your mother's involved in the church and all kinds of things, so
Yep.
Evelyn's pretty well known around town too.
Yep.
For better or worse, she's known around town everywhere, right?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
So let's talk about your siblings.
So I'm the oldest of 4, and my brother John we're all ended up being self-employed, and he is in graphic design. And then my sister Rebecca, a lot of people know her as Becky. She's self-employed as well, and she runs her own therapy business.
Okay.
She has her, and then my sister Missy, a lot of people know, is owner of the fish company.
Miss
in
Marine
town.
City Fish Company.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep.
So where do the other two live?
My brother's in Lake Orion,
Okay.
and then my sister's in Becky's in Commerce Township.
Okay.
So we're all
Yeah,
within an
sure.
hour and a ish.
Okay, fairly close.
Yeah.
Went to Marine City High School. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yep. Graduated in 1995.
Okay.
So Mariner at heart. And
Yep.
then after high school, I left and I went to Western Michigan, and there I got my degree in interior design and a minor in psychology. And that's where I met my husband, and we lived there for probably 9 or 10 years, including school. And then we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, and we lived in North Carolina for about 15 years before we moved back to Marine City.
Okay.
So.
Now I've been to Charlotte a couple times, and what I noticed, this is just my layman terms, but Charlotte in the south of the general area in Carolinas isn't the sleepy south that it used to be. It's a hustling, bustling metropolis.
Yeah.
Banking is big, all kinds of growth.
Yeah, banking is huge, and there are towns that are still the smaller,
Yeah.
sleepy towns, but like Raleigh and Charlotte, there are major, good mid-sized
Yeah.
towns with a lot going on. It was a great place to live and work, and we would probably still be there, honestly, if it wasn't for both of my sisters having little ones.
Okay, right.
So they started having little ones, and my heart was pulled back.
Got to come home.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you went to Western for interior design?
Yes.
When did you, as a young adult, decide I want to do interior design?
Well, I didn't really fully know that's what I wanted to do. I didn't know much about interior design until I went to SC4 actually for my first year. And in the library there was like a career placement test because I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. We always did arts and crafts at home. My grandmother, my mom's mom, was a china and porcelain painter.
Oh, okay.
And then my mom always did ceramics. So we were always into some kind of art or craft type thing. And then my dad did real estate, so we learned how to build, do a lot of things with our hands. And then when I took that career placement test, it said the number one thing that I would be good at was interior design.
Is that right?
And I knew about architecture and interior decorating, but I didn't really know about interior design. So that's when I learned about it and started researching schools, and Western and Michigan State were both top accredited schools for the program, and so I visited the campuses and ended up going to Western.
Now when you worked in Charlotte in interior design, was it mostly with homes, or was it mostly with business? What were you doing?
So I did commercial design.
Okay.
I worked for a Steelcase furniture
Okay.
dealer as a designer, and then eventually ended up managing the design department. I had about 14 designers that I
Okay.
managed there. And then from there, I started working with a customer, actually, was an automotive company. And I worked in their real estate department, so I was their interior designer on staff, and I managed all the new builds, renovations, if we were just doing, moving.
Is it a name we'd recognize?
Hendrick Automotive Group.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Hendrick has the automotive side and then the NASCAR side. So
Okay.
if anyone's familiar with NASCAR, they would know
Yeah.
like some of the
Okay.
top names, Jimmy Johnson.
Now, what amazes me, Dale Earnhardt Jr.,
Yeah,
Jeff
so
Gordon.
Mr. Hendrick owns the motorsports team,
Yep.
and so I worked for him on the automotive side.
Okay.
So
Now, what's interesting to me about that type of thing is a lot of people don't know what interior design is or how it works. But I noticed, like for example, in my career, being in and out of offices a lot, that you can tell when somebody puts a lot of time, effort into the interior of an office, whether it be a law firm, car dealership, whatever.
Yep.
And it's simple things like all the chairs match.
yes,
There may be 4 kinds of different chairs in their waiting area, but they all have some sort of color codedness, I'll call it.
Yep.
Things like that.
yeah, and the aesthetic aspect is one part of it, but a lot of interior design goes into like the ergonomics. So I would be working with the staff on the ergonomics of the chair. If you're sitting a long time, do you
Sure.
need a sit to stand workspace? So there's a lot that goes into that. A lot of it is the health, safety, and welfare of the
Sure.
public, working with them. So it's working with a lot of codes, making sure aisleways are going to fit someone that might be in a wheelchair to get through. Turnaround space in a restroom for like an ADA
Sure.
restroom. So a lot of it goes to like the code side of things too. Slip resistance on floors.
Yep,
So
yep.
like when I worked with the automotive dealerships, I'd have to make sure,
Tile.
yeah, I'd have to work with the manufacturers. So like Audi, Chevrolet, Mercedes, BMW, I'd work with their representatives from the automotive side to implement their design standards.
Sure.
So when you go into a BMW dealership, they have a set standard
Colors.
and a look
Yep.
and a impression that they want you to feel when you go in there. And so I would work with the manufacturers to implement their design standards into the Hendrick dealerships. But I was representing Hendrick, so I had to look out for if there were safety concerns,
Sure.
if there was, say, BMW wanted or just anyone wanted a gloss floor in the reception area.
Yeah, think slippery.
Yes,
Yep.
those types of things you have to worry about, stair treads, all that kind of stuff that the general public doesn't usually think
figure-
about until something happens.
You know what I think about like that is when you go into a new dealership that has had all that stuff done versus an old dealership that and you go, wow, there is
Yeah.
really a difference of all the little things that have to be done. And another place that I notice is go to Metro Airport and see how a new airport or new-ish airport is designed to have people flow through it, different spaces. There's a lot put into that.
Yep. Are the customers, are there, charging stations for your phones? Are there?
That's a big thing.
Yeah, waste receptacles, the artwork, is it, is the environment, what does the environment make you feel like? Is it,
Sure.
and then another part of that, big part of that job was move management. So building a new dealership is a lot easier than
Yes.
renovating. So we never closed the dealerships. We always had to either figure out how to set up ancillary
Right.
spaces. So if it was the new car delivery that we were working on or the service drive or something like that, we'd have to reroute those spaces and those areas with signage or having temporary furniture so that the dealership was always up and running
Sure.
while
Yeah,
we
I
were
mean,
renovating.
and you see that happening a lot with these big dealer groups like a Hendricks,
Mm-hmm.
where they're going to redo their dealerships in segments,
Yes.
and there's probably always 12 of them under construction.
Yep.
Like you say, they're going to do a new waiting room, so that might be off to one side and yellow
Yep.
tape, but we got to figure out where to put them For that 9 months that this
Yeah,
construction
and a lot of
going on.
times it had to happen overnight when they were closed. So we'd be closed at a certain time. We'd get in there with IT, disassemble things, the move management team move it. So it was coordinating all those moving parts.
Sure.
So there's a lot of coordination involved in what I did as well.
Oh,
So,
very interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing I know about Hendrick Motorsports and Hendricks as a dealership group, he's one of the largest in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like he's got 10 dealerships. I'm going to guess it's got to be 100 or
Yeah,
somewhere
when I
thereabouts.
worked for him, it was over 100
Yeah.
dealerships.
And
So
it's a monumental, when you say interior design for a car dealer, it doesn't bring the scope of how big that
Right.
issue is.
Right.
And so you had 14 people that worked in that department.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty astounding as far as the number.
yeah, no. So in that department, that was only 5 of us actually. We had a real estate department of just 5 of us, and we had over a couple $100 million worth of projects that we were doing, just the 5 of us managing.
And I would guess to say
That is
that is like the proverbial, getting the plates going at any given time.
A lot of them were spinning.
Yeah, spinning.
You're that person spinning
Right, gotta get
multiple
this one.
and not
This
letting
one's
them crash.
This one's going to close in 3 weeks. Got to get that one going. This one here's just starting, and
Yep,
Yeah.
a lot of moving pieces.
a
So,
lot of scheduling and meetings about scheduling.
Yep. Yep, a lot.
Lucky you didn't have to deal with that through COVID.
Right,
with all
exactly.
the stuff
yeah.
going on. So, how difficult was it to make a decision to leave that job and come back home?
So I actually left there and I worked for a hand furniture manufacturer in High Point, North Carolina
Okay.
for a few years. And with that position, I oversaw the independent sales director. So I was like a sales manager for about half the country, and I
Okay.
had Eastern Canada as well. And I just oversaw them, I trained them, set their sales goals, helped them to work meet their sales goals. So that was my closest to kind of that in the automotive side to any kind of retail.
Okay.
So it's a totally different type of retail than
Sure.
I'm doing now, but a lot of the same principles
right.
apply,
Yep,
right?
yep.
So I worked with them, and I traveled a lot. Both of those positions, I traveled a lot. And when I was at Davis, which is the furniture manufacturer, when I traveled with them, I would travel with the reps to architectural firms and design firms in different cities, and I would train them on the products. So I would present the new product lines that we had. Every year we'd come out with a new product line, and that was how I trained them, and I work with them for several days at a time, and then I'd leave and go.
Was
to
that
the next.
mostly in the commercial sector as well?
That was all, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, commercial as
So
well.
it was like with an architecture group that may work to put in their type of commercial furniture?
Yep, so it's
Okay.
making them aware of the new products, the new designs, features of the products. So when the architectural and design groups were planning for future spaces for their customers, they knew what was available or what was coming.
Okay.
And then we would help them, their reps would help them specify what they
Okay.
wanted for their spaces. So, this may have been like when I was in Steelcase, this might have been a Steelcase furniture setup, and then maybe your lobby area might have been something from Davis. So kind of
So when you go into
Did the
some
different
of these,
sectors
you
of-
go into these banks or commercial buildings, you have an eye to
I
know what's what.
I am a furniture geek. Yeah,
Yeah.
I will point out still to this day. I'll be like, yeah, that's a Herman Miller whatever
Right.
chair. Or that's steel. Yeah,
Yeah,
I can rattle off the model numbers too. I can't remember what I had for breakfast, but I can remember the model
exactly.
numbers.
You know what's another thing that I don't know if you dealt with this, but it just jogged my memory. It's like you don't think of where it is or how much it's used, but terrazzo.
Mm-hmm.
Did you deal with? I would think that in your type of work, terrazzo is a huge thing.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know what terrazzo is, but it's basically a flooring
Mm-hmm.
that is. How do you explain terrazzo?
It's like a stone base into a resin type material, and it's poured, and it's a very high use.
Yeah.
So you'll see it in
Airports.
airports, and you'll see it in healthcare.
Hospitals,
It's
right.
seamless, so there's not areas. A lot of times you can use it in areas where, it sometimes can have the finish applied, so there would be some grip resistance.
And you'll see designs of logos and names sometimes and that kind of stuff too. Yeah. Okay. So then you decide to come back to Marine City. And how long of a process was it to come to the fruition of Marine City Marketplace, or MC Marketplace?
So we decided to move back to Marine City before we started the marketplace. In the November prior to our opening, I was working for Davis, traveling in and out of Detroit, and we had been watching the Miller's building, which is the building that Marketplace is in
Yep.
now. A lot of people that have been in Marine City are familiar. It used to be a women's apparel store, very high end, and a lot of our families
Right.
shopped there. They are in Finsterwalds. And so we were watching the building for a while, and finally it came down to a price where we felt it was manageable. We knew it needed a ton of work.
Right.
And so we priced it out and we made an offer and they accepted it. And so we bought it in February of 2018, and we took 6 months to renovate it, and we opened August 16th of 2018. So we're actually getting ready to celebrate our 5-year anniversary.
And I would guess to say you pretty much gutted it.
We gutted it.
Yeah.
We gutted it. We added another restroom. We added drinking fountains. Basically got it all up to code. We built we demoed all the interior because a lot of it had water damage.
Right.
There was a lot of water damage. And the only thing I think really that we were able to salvage was in the front display windows. We have these oak floors.
Yeah.
And those were covered by layers of carpet with this tarry adhesive, and we spent, I can't
Hours
tell
and
you
hours
how
just
long. It was stupid how long we
Getting
spent.
the glue out?
Getting the glue off, but we did, and we were able to sand them down and refinish them to their former state, and they turned out beautiful. But yeah, there was very little that we were able to salvage.
So where did you get the idea for the marketplace?
So I knew we wanted to do something within the arts, but it's hard as an independent owner in a small town
Sure.
to have just a gallery that could support us, So we wanted to do something that would support the arts, and it just we started dividing it up, and our original intent were that businesses could rent the individual spaces, but then logistically we were talking about, who would handle the janitorial
Right.
services, who would open and close, who would shovel the snow, and all that type
Right.
of thing. And I had always had a desire to own my own business. It's something since I was a child that I, wanted, and it just kind of happened. I couldn't
Right.
even really tell you exactly. It wasn't like on this date we decided we were going to do this. It was just, it kind of evolved from rental spaces to being the marketplace that it's been.
So coming from, say, a family of accountants, did it get down to spreadsheets, or sort of just thought in your mind and let's go with it?
Yeah, for budgets and things like that to see if it made sense. But we didn't know how well we would do in a small town.
Sure.
We knew that the town has grown over the last 10 plus years, and that there was a lot of tourists, and we get a lot of good local support.
Sure.
So we felt that it was worth a try and see what happens. You only live once, right?
Right.
So it's been fun. And the design aspect, when you asked me the first question about when I knew I wanted to get in design, I didn't even know this,
Right.
but when I was a kid, I was like probably 9 or 10 years old, and I was home with my siblings, and maybe I might have been probably 9 or 10, because then I was watching my siblings, and
Right.
my parents were at their accounting business, and it was in the summer, and I hated the wallpaper in our downstairs bathroom, just hated it. So I kept bugging my mom to take it down, and finally one day they went to work, and I got my siblings, and we took it down, but we didn't know to sand,
Right.
patch the walls, prep them, anything. We just took it
9-10-year-olds don't know
down.
that,
Nope,
right.
and we just started painting it, and I painted this mural on the wall, and that was the start
And
of
your mother didn't know when she left for work?
what she was coming back to.
So what happened when she got home?
She couldn't be mad.
Right, okay.
Because, I tried to help,
Sure,
right?
sure.
So it stayed for a little bit, a hot minute.
Okay. And then what went in that bathroom?
And then eventually they redid it and
Okay.
made it done professionally,
Okay.
but
So what does a day at MC Marketplace look like?
For me?
Yeah.
About 40 hats.
Okay, yeah.
When you're self-employed, you wear a lot of different hats. So a lot of times in the morning, I'll be doing social media with my coffee, responding to emails, placing orders. And then, when we get in, a lot of it's, if we get deliveries, it's, checking the inventory,
Sure.
doing damage claims if stuff comes in damaged, pricing it, putting it out, displaying it, cleaning, janitorial services.
Yep.
Somebody, makes a mess, it's cleaning up after that. It's training our employees, hiring.
Now, how much of what is in the MC Marketplace is your product versus
I would
artists?
say maybe half of it.
Okay.
Probably about half of it. So we have a combination of handcrafted and new. And so we have about 40 to 50 different local artists and vendors in the store. And it's nice because it gives them, these people, ability to sell their goods.
Yeah, without a lot of overhead.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And most of them, it's either a hobby, something they do on the side,
Sure.
or they are in multiple stores. They don't have the resources or the time to run a store and manage it. And so it gives them the ability to get their pieces out there.
So was it a long process to figure out, is this a good thing or a bad thing? Is it going to make it? Or
No, it actually, we were very thankful. It happened, we put a notice out there to artists, and when we first opened, we might have had a paint line and some candles, and I think we at the time had some olive oils and vinegars, but we didn't have a lot of our own items, new items that we were selling. And then it's funny, we look back at the pictures of like when we opened, and we thought, we're going to open when we're half full, and then eventually the word will get out and we'll start. Well, we felt like we were more than half full, and we look back at the pictures and we're like, we weren't even close.
Right.
But you got to start somewhere,
Yeah, you live
right?
and learn, and you basically make adjustments as you go.
Yep, and we still have a lot of vendors that we had in the store with us day one, which is great. They're still with us. And then and artists and vendors, they come and go. Some of them, life happens, and they just stop doing what they're doing for whatever reason, or they move, or something happens with their family. So there's a lot of different reasons why they leave, but we do have a waiting list for new vendors. So when a vendor of a similar type leaves, then we'll call the vendors on.
Is there any one sweet spot that, as far as type of a product, that sells better at your place?
It's seasonal.
Okay.
So the spring and summer, nautical, coastal, always does well. Anything that's kind of made of nature, I want to say. So we have vendors that make things with like Petoskey stones or hand-built clay, glass, things like that. Those items do really well. Our artists that do paintings, do well. A lot of times if it's things that are we're kind of more of a gift shop than we are an art gallery. So the items we're learning that sell more in our shop are more things that you might put in your home in the area. So things that are coastal related, like that.
Okay. Anything going on in the, say, summer, fall, winter that we need to be aware of?
Yeah, we have some workshops coming up. So we do workshops periodically. We have a workroom. And we do them, I usually have like an item that we do, and then I'll post it. And so we have a luminary class coming up that I'm getting ready to post. We have a gentleman that comes in from Ironwood, Michigan, and he does stained glass. He did a class in February that was a hit, so we have him coming back at the end of August.
What is luminary?
So it's like a lighted globe.
Okay.
So it's ceramic, and it'll be glazed. So if you were to come in and do the workshop, you would paint it with glazes. You would leave it behind, and then we have a kiln. We fire it.
Okay.
Then you pick it back up, and it has a light kit. And so it has like dragonflies on it. When you plug it in and you light it up with the switch, it reflects like dragonflies on
All
the
over.
wall and stuff.
Okay.
It's really cool.
That jogs something in my memory. I can remember as a child, my mother did ceramics.
Mm-hmm.
And then it seemed to go away for a while.
Yep.
Is it coming back?
Yeah, I think people just want to be creative.
Right.
And it's that sense of freedom that you get when you're creating. Some people, if they can let go enough, they can experience that freedom. Some people
Sure.
are too, like, you know, and,
Right, yeah.
and it's surprising that I can do that because I am very type A.
Right.
But if you can let that go, it's just a sense of peace and freedom that you feel when you're creating, and you've taken something from A
Sure.
to B. And I think that's what I love about interior design and renovating and things like that, is you get to see the change,
Okay.
how it starts out and
Yeah.
you know how it finishes. But yeah, it's I would say ceramics, pottery, painted canvases, things where people can create and have a sense of, I accomplished this,
Sure.
I did this.
Sure.
It's rewarding.
Okay. So we're now coming into August pretty soon. I'm assuming that a busy time for you is Christmas for sure.
Yes.
Is there a fall rush per se?
Yep. So we have seasonal decor,
Sure.
and we have so we do a little Halloween. We have fall. Fall's little bit bigger than Halloween for us, just I think because it's longer.
Right.
And then Christmas is our biggest season. But we have, summer is a big season for us too.
Right.
But we have a lot of fun stuff coming in for the next season, and pallets are getting delivered tomorrow and Thursday. So,
Okay. Well, it's always
a rush.
exciting to drive up Broadway, make a right-hand turn on Water Street, and look down the street and see all the cars, and it's busy.
yeah.
And there's activity and there's people. I know that talking to different people in town, you get some people that'll say they'll complain about parking. Well, I'm an optimist in the sense that I don't think as busy as it may be and maybe at event times, I've never had to circle a block more than once.
Yeah.
There's parking on, the street behind.
Yeah.
There's parking behind your store, and then the AT&T building
Yeah.
next to that. I mean, there's always parking.
You might have to walk for a minute, but it's all relative.
Yeah.
If you've been to any other cities, the parking in Marine City, there's
No worse than anywhere else.
No, it's you can always, most of the time, find a spot. If you can't in an actual parking spot, I'm sure there's a street spot or something if there's
Right.
a main event going on. But we do have Maritime Days coming up,
Yep.
which is a big time for the city, a lot of fun. And then we have our 5-year anniversary / birthday
Yep.
party on
When is that?
August 16th.
Okay.
So we'll be having some fun giveaways and sales and some goodies.
Okay.
And then Maritime Christmas is a huge event for
Yeah.
the shops in town. We put a lot of energy into that, and with the chamber, and it's a big event for us.
Oh, I've been down. I mean, it's crazy how many people you see.
Yeah.
It's
From
like
all over.
It's almost like a non-stop walkway of people, just from one to the next to the next.
Yep.
You go to the next store, you see the same people because
Yeah.
you're all on the same route.
And each shop is doing something a little different. Santa's there. There's hot cocoa bars. There's crafts. There's a lot of different things. So
Yep.
it's fun.
Okay, well, thanks for coming by.
Thanks so much for having me.
We look forward to having you. Maybe next year we'll have another one and we'll compare things for the seasons.
All right, sounds good.
So thank you to Jessica Ikera-Blakely, number 65's in the book. And if you want to know where to look for her, go to the MC Marketplace. And if you don't know where MC Marketplace is, maybe because you didn't grow up in town and you didn't know where Miller's was, it's across the street from Anita's. It's 2 doors from the Sweet Tooth. What other
Yep.
way? The other
right
way.
next to the bakery.
There you go, exactly. So you'll find it. If you know of anybody else, the phone number's there to recommend anybody that would be as nice to sit down as Jessica was here today. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
I think we covered most everything.